I'm getting the hang of this. I really am. And I'll tell you why that's a big deal in a minute. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm so excited that you're here today because today is really quite extraordinary. And in a second, I have to awaken the other screen. Hang on. So, once upon a time, a long time ago, in a far-off land, there was a king who had a beautiful daughter, the princess. Do you remember this story? All right, there she is. The princess is on the other screen live, which means that, or almost live. This is live, that's the next best thing. So if you want to say good morning or hello or good afternoon or what time is it and why are we here, feel free. I am so excited to see you. Well, good morning, Freddie. What a great conversation we had. I'm so excited about that. I'm going to talk about it today. All right, so I'm holding up Vicarious because there's a reason, of course. And the reason I'm holding up Vicarious today is because we do a lot of things assuming that everything's going to be okay. We're not really in the moment. It's still Memorex. It's not exactly live in our heads because we start with a dream. We start with an idea. We start with a concept, and then we gradually work toward where we think we're going. Right? This is pretty much the way life is. And I'm sorry, but there's a weird thing. You know how we all have triggers? So my father, every 15 minutes of my life, used to say, you need to do something with your hair. I just did. He'd do it again. Do it differently. Anyway, first things first. Today is a celebration, and I'm going to tell you why. Today is the 50th video since I began 25 weeks ago in November last year. I said to myself, I can do this if I figure out how it feels safe to do. How it feels, and I don't mean safe like, oh, I'm scared, but how it feels normal, how it feels, oh, look, good morning, Melissa. Good morning, Wish Bear. How it feels normal to add a new layer of normal to my life. Really, each time we do that, what we're doing is we're rocking our boat a little bit when we add a layer and we're not sure 100% absolutely, because how can you be that it's going to be okay? And one of the things as an entertainer, especially a live entertainer, as opposed to what? Canned, is I don't ever want to set up an expectation for the public and then disappoint them. If I can't follow through, if I can't say and do the thing I have promised I will, then I shouldn't start. Because so much upheaval in our lives, people, I think, are looking for certainty. They're looking for normal. They're looking for something they can count on reliably. You know, when it says 10 fluid ounces, it's actually 10 fluid ounces because there's a law. When it says, has this ever happened to you? You order orange juice in a restaurant and the glass comes, you're not paying attention, you pick it up and drink it, and your brain says, okay, abort, 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 because by accident in the kitchen, they put grapefruit juice in the glass. And your brain can't, what? No. And you can't spit it out because restaurant. And then it takes a while, your cave brain calms down and says, oh, wait, no, it's just grapefruits. But it ruins your whole sense of, we got this, right? You were startled and alarmed and terrified. Good morning, Daniel. You're startled and alarmed and terrified by a glass of juice. And now we take on the world. So I had this very interesting call yesterday. I had this idea, and I don't know if Freddie Moore could read my mind, but he reached out and he said, so when are we doing our call? Chris and I are waiting to talk to you. And what had happened was, in the midst of realizing that my 50th video was going to be today, I wanted to come to this moment with something aha-ish to say. You're welcome, Garen. And I wanted to have something profoundly amazing that I had discovered to share. And I knew what I wanted to talk about. I didn't know how to find the answer. And I'm thinking for 50th, you know, 50's a thing. 50's not the same as 40 and 30 and whatever. 50's a thing. And so I said, I'm going to ask a couple of people who would probably know the answers. And I reached out to two of my interview buddies, two of my pivotry buddies, and I said, I want to talk to you about something. I want to ask you a question. And I'm not quite sure how to frame the question, so I'll just frame the question, and we'll see how it goes. So that's part of what I want to talk about today. The other thing I want to talk about is an extraordinary thing that we do. When we are brave enough to dream something, and we are brave enough to push forward to reach it, and we make it a priority, what we're focused on is the dream. We're focused on achieving the dream. We're focused on the steps to get there, how we get there, how we take each step. What are the steps? How do we identify them? What one comes first? Get in the car. No, first of all, we have to figure out where we're going. Do we need a suitcase? It's just so many steps. And that's part of the excitement, building the dream, turning it into reality, making it a genuine goal. Instead of it being something vicarious, something that we live through other people and enjoy their ride, we're saying, I want a ride of my own. I want it to be mine. That's an extraordinary thing that we do. And it's unique to human beings. It is unique to us because we have the ability to think forward, and we have the ability to think in abstract terms, and we have the ability to imagine things that aren't yet here. And this is, of course, all to do with Freddie says 50th episode, I turned 50 in November. Well, you see, what wonderful synchronicity. So when you were 49, I had my first episode, Freddie. How about that? When I realized I needed to ask this question, it was because of something that happened that confused me at the last live event. So I want to walk us through this because I know it's happened to all of us. I know it. And the reason I know it is not because I think we're all the same. It's because we're humans, and we kind of move in our brains in the same way. So here was my question. And it was based on the last event I did. Because at this most recent event, live fan event in Brockville, it was a very, very small, intimate hall, which was great for a first time. Absolutely perfect. And it's not that we got to see more people up close. It's that pretty much everybody was up close if they weren't 20 feet away, because it was a very small hall. And so therefore, you could really observe people. It wasn't, you know, like back in 2018 when I did Ottawa Comic Con, it was this sea of images and visuals and noise, and it was really, people were walking around a little overstimulated with all of the sensory stuff that was happening, and it was easy to become distracted, and it was easy to kind of just look at the large picture, and it was hard to focus on the person, oh, right in front of you. But at this event, everybody was right in front of you. And because of that, and because of one remarkable thing that happened, I was able to notice something, and I thought, I don't know why that is. So, to begin, these events for fans who collect trophies, who collect references to shows they watch, characters they identify with, stories that they follow that allow them to live vicariously. It is a very safe and comforting place for people who are not socially comfortable, who don't mingle well. Now, there's all different kinds of layers of personalities, and I would be called a high-functioning introvert. I'm very capable and very happy for long periods of time to work alone, quietly writing a book or researching stuff and thinking up things to do for video. I am equally thrilled to be able to go out and do a live event. And Daniel says, turning left or right on the path of life changes everything, good or bad. It matters to you. No one else. Choose wisely. Daniel, that's very profound. Thank you. When I do live events, I switch into the live me, crowd me, Abbey world. When I'm at home, when I'm working to develop the material that I'm going to take with me when I go out, it's still Abbey world, but it's a much quieter version. Both of them have become something I've practiced and polished, and as a result I can shift very comfortably from one to the other. If I do too many live events in a row, I need to fall down for a minute because it's a lot of energy. And one of the things that was part of our conversation yesterday is the way we get ready for a live event is we channel our adrenaline. We don't let adrenaline make us crazy. Once you get good at this thing that I do for a good part of my living, you manage your adrenaline. You get your adrenaline to a place where you can maintain a certain level for a long period of time. You want to know how long the show is. I always used to say that old saying, you know, you can fool some of the people all of the time and all of the people some of the time. Yeah, that's not relevant. All you need to do is fool enough of the people enough of the time. I need to know how long I'm here, and I need to know how many people have an expectation so that I can rise to meet it and give everyone a happy, huggable memory of the moment. So how I do that is I use my adrenaline to get me to that state where I'm not wired, but I'm alert and I'm engaged and I'm very, very, very focused on every single thing that I can see happening to me. So that has become how I am in public. And from my time as a child, as a teenager, when I was, you know, incredibly shy, and I just kind of stood and looked and stood back and didn't know what to say or do, so I would show up, but I didn't know what to do next. So, yeah, actually that's the perfect example. I showed up, but I didn't know what to do next. The dream was that I would show up and everything would be amazing. The reality was I didn't have a plan for when I arrived, right? I knew what to do until I hit the beach. And I hadn't thought about, is somebody bringing towels? I got as far as I'd planned to go. So at this event, there were two kinds of people. And because I saw both directly in front of me for quite a good stretch of time, maybe half an hour, which is a long time. Usually people are drifting and moving and they're not really it's you know, fireflies, right? They're here and they're gone. But this was a longer moment. Many people gather for these amazing events to gather great memories, meet new friends and new wonderful people. Yes, they do, Daniel. And some people, as I have heard from many people that I've asked, go there because they feel safe there. They go there because they're joining other people who don't feel safe in social settings. And they go there, a lot of them cosplaying, a lot of them focusing on the one show that made them feel anchored, that made them feel like they had a rudder, that made them feel like they belonged. And they go there, they gravitate there because that was their destination. So in this case, there were two sets of people. One did that. I saw it happen. I saw this individual step firmly out of a clearly defined comfort zone in order to be in the world he remembered with me. He was there to connect to the person he remembered, the show he remembered, the experience he remembered, whatever felt safe. That's why he was there. He overcame, to do this, he overcame an extraordinary challenge. He travels with a service dog because he has a significant challenge dealing with the world. And he came. And I knew that he was okay, not because I'm all powerful and I know these things. I knew he was okay because his dog was calm. His dog looked like he was having the best time ever. He was smiling and he looked like he was lying back. At one point it looked like he was posing for the camera. What he was really doing was he was mirroring what he could sense from his human partner. He was mirroring joy. He was mirroring, he was mirroring the smile on the human partner's face. So that was a situation where the goal was to make the dream real. When the dream was real for this person, it appeared to me that it was everything he had imagined and more. The other group came, there were 4 or 5 of them, and they, in a group, created a bubble because safety in numbers. And they moved as a group, and they didn't engage at any booth. If they stopped in front of a booth, they had their backs turned to the booth. And I thought, okay, so if I were going window shopping, I would still be looking in the window of the store. I wouldn't be walking down the sidewalk and turning my back on the store, because why did I come? That's what I was thinking. That's what I couldn't put together in my head. And I watched. A couple of them came over at one point and said something and got a picture, and then they would go back giggling and back in their group, back to their tribe, and then they would go someplace else, and they were this moving unit. And I thought, so their dream wasn't really to connect. Their dream was to go together for some reason. And I thought, why would you go to all the trouble to do that? If you don't want to connect, why wouldn't you stay home? And so, since I couldn't answer it for myself, and you know, and I'm profound people all the time. It's how I write for people. It's how I connect and how I perform for people. I'm constantly trying to read what I think they might like and what I think would make them smile. So I reached out these 2 lovely men, Chris Churchill and Freddie Moore. And now, as I said, Freddie had said, we're wondering if you were available for a call Wednesday because, you know, we got stuff and we want to do our follow-up. And I thought, oh, from heaven, I'm saying, how am I going to sort this out and answer this? And here it is, handed to me from the universe. Thanks, universe. So I got on the call with them. And as I was getting ready to get on the call with them, I thought, you know, I'm about to say something that every single human on the planet would have the perfect right to be quite, what? if I don't ask it the right way. And then I don't know if you were looking on my page earlier, but I posted a picture of a penguin doing something, about to do something to cause the utmost damned astonishment, and I labeled the picture Viking Penguin. It's a wonderful composite picture. It appears to be a penguin sitting on top of a sleeping polar bear, and the penguin has a set of cymbals. he's looking down. He's getting ready to, every time I look at that, I think, yeah, get ready to run. In 3, 2. So I thought, well, you know, in for a penny, in for a pound, as they say in England. So when I got on the call and I asked them how they are, because Freddie had done an amazing thing. He'd gone to the Star Trek convention in Chicago and had a wonderful time, and I wanted to hear all about it. And Chris had launched himself on a very interesting project. Chris is doing a film adaptation of a stage play he wrote, which defies all the rules of theater, and that's why he did it. When he told me about it, he said, it's the one thing I've ever done that got a great deal of critical, positive acclaim. And I thought, really? And so the play is called Chair, and what happens is the play opens, curtains open, there's a chair on stage, and that's it. And I always say to people, you know, if you go to the theater, you buy a ticket, you sit down in the hard chair, you face the front, curtain opens, nothing goes on. Nobody enters, nobody leaves. And then the curtain closes. You sit there thinking, Shania Twain, did I shave my legs for this? I got off the couch and put on uncomfortable pants for this? And where's the conflict? Where's the evolution of the character? Where's the revelation of life? And Chris said, well, exactly, that's the point. The point is that sometimes there is no revelation. And I said, you're not serious that the whole play is just the chair. And he said, no, there's other elements to it, but it is about the chair. And so anyway, he's turning it into a movie, and so I wanted to hear about that as well. So we had that conversation. I wanted to hear what they'd been up to. And then I said, okay, so now that I have you here and I've lulled you into a false sense of security, I need to ask you this question. Because the reason they have become my friends, they have transitioned in my mind and in theirs, I think and hope, from just being fans of You Can't Have It on Television and thinking of me as Mom or the librarian or whomever, is because Freddie Moore reached out some months back and said, I have a feeling you want to interview me for the Pivotry book. I think I'm a pivot master. And I thought, well, isn't that interesting? Because I had said on my videos, if you think that this is something that you can help me with, you can become one of my chapters, you need to reach out. And Freddie was the first one to do that. So I said, tell me why. And he said something very simply, very matter-of-fact, very easily. And I sat there with my mouth open, because there was nothing about what he had said that was simple, easy, or matter-of-fact. And I don't have, you know, photographic memory, but I can remember the substance of what he said and the impact on it. So again, perfectly normal voice level. He said, until I was diagnosed with socioaffective bipolar disorder and prescribed my meds, life was complicated. Me, on the video call. literally speechless, until I was diagnosed. I said, when were you diagnosed? And he said, I was a teenager. And I said, the problem, the reason for the speechlessness is I had 11 million questions, and they all wanted to be asked first. My brain couldn't sort it out. I was just frozen in awe and admiration and wonder. And I said, how are you now? He said, a lot better. So where do I begin, Freddie? You need to, I had said, you need to guide me through this. Schizoaffective. I'm so sorry, Freddie. I'm so sorry. Schizoaffective. He's corrected me. And I had no concept of life coping with that. Here's this handsome, articulate, intelligent person telling me effectively. So until the rest of the world realized that I was in a non-stop train wreck, and because it has been his normal for his life, he was matter of fact about it, presenting it to me. Here, Mom, I brought you this. So my immediate question, once they all sorted themselves out and said, fine, you can go first, my immediate question was, how was it? And then I realized that it was the wrong question to ask, because when you're in it, you can't rate it. You can't say compared to what. There is no context. If you're living in this, if you're living in the desert and you've only ever known the desert, you don't know what it means when somebody says, is it hot enough for you? Compared to what? It's always hot. There's no, you see what I'm saying? There's no, I live in a different world. So what I respected so highly in his outreach to me was that he wanted to talk about it. He wanted me to know, and he wanted to know if it qualified as pivotry. Well, yes, it does, boys and girls. Yes, it certainly does qualify as pivotry. Holy crap! Because what you are doing is not simply turning your head to the left or the right. You're thinking inside, outside, up, down, around, and through the box all the time, because your box isn't like anybody else's box. It's a completely different box. And the scientific community is doing its best, the medical community is doing its best to figure out how to help you align your box with everybody else's. However, unless they have lived in a similar box, they too are guessing. So we had a number of conversations to educate me, to give me the opportunity to look through the little keyhole and see glimpses of Freddie's world. And if that's not a chapter-worthy story, I should hang up my pen. It's a really extraordinary opportunity to have that conversation. So how I met Chris after that was, it turns out that Freddie and Chris have known each other since elementary school. They've gone through gifted school together. So they, of all the people in the world, they know each other the best. And Chris had reached out via Facebook and said, my friend Freddie Moore has told me that he spoke to you. And you might be interested to know that I did a documentary on Freddie, because when I was in college, I studied this. And so if you're interested in getting, the friend's perspective, I'm available. So I said, but by all means. We got on a call, and I said, so when you say you were childhood friends, what does that mean? And he was giving me the backstory about he and Freddie, how long they've known each other. And then equally calmly and matter-of-factly, the way Freddie had spoken to me, Chris said, and I've been in and out of treatment, much like Freddie. We don't have the same issues, but we certainly have we can compare notes, and it's not that it's a competition, but who's been in therapy the longest and who's needed meds more and who's had fallbacks and breakdowns and recoveries, and I said, pardon? And so then Chris started telling me his story, and where he thinks, where everyone thinks things come from. And I suddenly realized that I had been gifted with two people who have lived in my world as strangers in a strange land, and they've learned how to navigate. They've learned how to cope because they've had help, because they've sought help, because they're both really smart, and because they wanted to, because their dream and goal was to live a quality life. They didn't want to be held hostage to whatever the situation was that they happened to have. If you're left-handed, and back in the day when you were left-handed, they forced you to write right-handed, it became a handicap. If you are hard of hearing or have difficulty seeing, these things are challenges that we learn to overcome. If we're shy, if we have, behavioral tics that the rest of the world doesn't know what to do with, we have to figure out how to manage those while we engage in the larger world. All of these things are challenges, and every single one of us has something of a similar nature. You don't have to have schizoaffective disorder. You don't have to be hard of hearing or visually challenged. But we all bring something because we're human, and humans are innately broken in places. We're snowflakes in the true sense of the word, not in the fragile sense. In the true sense of the word, in that each one of us is a one-off. So, because these men had and have and continue and will cope with culture and social settings in a completely different way, I had sort of bet myself that they would have a completely different insight on these challenged people who had come to this event. So we had this wonderful call, and we were laughing about certain things that people do. And it's not going to get you anywhere if you keep turning your back on people who could probably help you. Oh well. Do people ever learn? Some do, some don't. I just dealt with one 2 weeks ago. The difference between the group and the human with the dog, the understanding that these beautiful, wonderful men gave me, was that one group established territory by saying, we don't need you. This is our town. May never have been to that building. Certainly never have been to that event because it was the first time. But we don't need you. And we're going to prove it to you. Our territory is us. We're going to prove that we don't need you. And they turned their back. And I thought, that's a very interesting cultural observation. Yeah, and not only we don't need you, we don't see anything about you at first glance that has a value that we could ever need. So they made a snap judgment. And they made a snap judgment not on me, but they made a snap judgment. This is my beautiful friend's conversation with me. It appears that this group made a snap judgment based on their need to establish their territory, their safe space, their boundary, and they drew a line around it. And when they turned collectively their back, that was their boundary in the sand. The human who came with the dog partner walked into territory that is equally his, he's from that town, with an intention of breaking down a barrier. Two barriers, actually. His challenge and the normal, everyday challenge that everybody has in a social setting. Connecting and engaging and making friends with a stranger. He came with that intention. He was ready to do that. And I said, so what are you saying about him? What is that? And, you know, in our discussion back and forth, the conclusion, and again, it's a guess, it's an educated guess, was that he was ready for reality. He was ready for the moment when his dream came true. He was ready for what happens next. And the group wasn't. The group maintained their status quo. He was ready to break the rules and develop a new status quo. It's not a question of bravery, it's a question of willingness. Like Chad Hilt says, you got to have the will and the want. And he had it. And the group didn't. And at one point, Chris said, what made you think that we would have the answers? And I said, well, to begin with, I didn't have the answers. And somebody must if I don't. And I said, to begin with, I didn't have the answers. And then, like, you know, a very helpful brick on the head, Freddie reaches out. And I looked at Freddie's message and I thought, there. The reason I thought that Freddie and Chris might have answers or insights or ideas or possibilities is because they have met and mastered their challenge of stepping into new realities every day of their lives. And they're glad they do it. Freddie came to Ottawa for the first SlimeCon event in 2003 or 4, I think, Freddie, right? And Chris was saying it blew him away that Freddie was prepared to get the money together, get his passport, book a hotel, book a train, get on the train, go there, find CJOH, attend the event, deal with running out of money in Canada and wiring home, and meeting people he'd only ever seen on television, and then in reverse order all the other things until he got home. He did the same thing recently when he went to the Star Trek convention in Chicago. He traveled from Kansas City to Chicago. He did it the way he does everything, one step at a time. Chris said one of the things that he and Freddie have in common is that his anxieties and his issues, his interaction problems are triggered by complete worry, complete overwhelming worry that he'll forget something important. So his brain starts churning. And what he has to do is calm that part of his brain down by writing everything down, by making everything a set of steps, observable, achievable, simple steps. And by the time you reach the end of the steps, you've not only arrived, but you've been here a while and they're calling you by your first name. And he does that all the time because it's the only way he can cope. And I said, I think I probably know no one who doesn't experience some part of that, but certainly not to the extent that you do. And he said, oh no. He said, my mind is chaos until I can put it in order. And And I said, has there ever been a time when you got really close to achieving something and then pinged back out and spun back out of control? He said, all the time. All the time. Because the anxiety is, now what? Now what? What do I do next? And have I got this? And what if I do that? He said, I know that I have to organize it, and I know I have to get it manageable, because I know I couldn't produce a film with other people involved if I came in running in circles and screaming and yelling all these different things. There would be no way for everybody to get in the same boat, rowing in the same direction, if I'm all over the place. So I have to organize me, I have to control me, I have to use the skills that I've developed. And you know, he's very close and appreciative of the therapist that he has seen for many years, who reminds him, asks him, discusses with him how he's doing and how the process is working, and assists Chris in navigating his way back to the safe steps and challenges. Freddie says here, I have a saying, if I don't know the answer, it's because the question hasn't been asked. I also went to SlimeCon in 2004. That's right, you did, you went twice. If I don't know the answer, it's because the question hasn't been asked. If I don't know the answer, it's because the question hasn't been asked. So what you're saying, Freddie, is there's no sense obsessing about not knowing the answer. What you need to do is find the question. Interesting. You see that? That's a pivotary moment right there. Right there. The brain going, no, 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 here. Ah, here. So I love this. So the other thing that came out of that conversation with these two lovely men was a memory. And I always try to do this. I always try, even though what I'm talking about is something fairly serious, I always try to end it with a funny story, a true story, something that happened to me. And this has happened to me so many times in my life that it's not that it surprises me anymore. However, the amazement is still there, because it is the exact illustration of this whole thing. There are people who live, I like to call it, at the 30,000 foot view level. They feel safe here, where everything is a vicarious experience. Everything is real, but it's over there. They're not going to hurt themselves. They're not going to embarrass themselves. They're not going to have to commit to it. It's not going to be something that they can fail at, because they're here. And while they're here, everything is possible. While they're here, the possibilities are limitless. Now, people who live there are always talking about the dream they're going to turn into reality. They've always got a great plan. They've always got a great idea. And they do. They really do. When they tell it to you, you say, oh, Shazam, let's do that. When they tell you, you say, oh, it's one of those. And this odd thing happens. They're zooming in, they're zooming in, they're zooming in. They're gathering all the things they need. Gathering, gathering, gathering. And they're zooming and zooming in and zooming in. And when touchdown is imminent, when the landing gear is down and the flaps are shifted, and they're coming in and they're coming in and they're coming in, and they suddenly, and they're gone. And they're back up at the 30,000 foot view all over again. Why? Because they have no plan for now what once they arrive. They have no idea what to do. The beautiful dream will end. The fact that it's going to turn into a beautiful reality is another conversation. The point is, their joy, their passion, their just yumminess is the magnificence of the dream. Because anything is possible. As soon as it's real, everything changes. Now we have to take out the garbage. Now we have to change our pants. At 30,000 feet, we don't ever have to do that. And I know people like that. I've worked with people like that. I have prevented myself from strangling them to death because of their propensity to do that. While they are at 30,000 feet, they're genius. They have ideas, they have energy, they have focus, they're with you. When they suddenly do their abort, they are seeking their safe space, which is up there. Are they leaving me hanging? They would never in a million years intend to leave me hanging. But leaving me hanging is a byproduct. Do they feel badly? Of course they do. They care about me. The last thing they would want to do is leave me hanging. However, you want an omelet, you got to break eggs. And I got to be back at my 30,000 foot view, right? Now, as I'm describing this, I am willing to bet that you are automatically thinking of people like that. Now, what Chris was saying, in a way, what was that he's swirling, where he feels safe. I mean, the adrenaline rush is amazing, all over the map, except that it's also crippling, because you can't get anything done. And the more you can't get anything done, the more upset you become, because nothing's moving forward. And he said it's devastating. It's really devastating, because I want this thing. I've worked for this thing. It means everything to me, and I can't get past where I am. So that's why Chris, like Freddie, like so many of us, he reaches out to someone who understands what's happening, who can hear what he's saying, and ask the questions that give Chris the ability to work his way through and find his anchor points and do the steps he needs to do to get himself to a place where he can manage properly, where he can safely land, he can safely complete the touchdown, and then move forward for the thing he loves and he really wants to do. So it's a crazy experience to love the adrenaline rush so much, and then love the possible outcome when you let the adrenaline rush go, when you control that rush so that you can achieve what you want. The decision you make to work through it, to make your goal happen, is what I saw that lovely man do. He did what he had to do to make his goal real. And given his challenges, the longer I think about it, the more honored I am that he wanted it. And that something that I was part of was part of what was motivating him. That's very special. The other thing that's very special is the fact that Freddie and Chris were willing to tell me how this thing works, how it works with them, what their opinion is. Not scientific, not resident expert, but because they've been on the inside, they know what the inside looks like. When they see somebody else on an inside, they can say it's probably this. And that was why I asked them. And they didn't take exception to it. They weren't, I hope, I hope they weren't just being polite. They weren't offended, because they knew my heart was in the right place, that I really wanted to know, and I really respect their wisdom and their cleverness and their strength and their determination. Everything about who they are and the lives they're able to live is such an inspiration. So here's the illustration, just in case all of this is way too, oh gosh, Abby, too much in the morning, I need more coffee. Here's the illustration. For over 30 years, I found opportunities to be Merry Christmas, Mrs. Santa, at community events staged by small merchant groups in order to bring their community together, to celebrate with the children, to celebrate with the families, with the seniors, in a way that was not commercial, to celebrate the spirit of Christmas, to celebrate gratitude, giving, receiving, being together, honoring each other, pausing the crazy rush and saying, isn't this awesome? We made it. We're here again. So 30 years is a long time. And over the years I had these incredible costumes, and I got to do, and I'm basically the assistant. I'm the lovely assistant, you know, stroking the fridge while the magician does all the hard work. I'm a wheel of fortune. I'm the one turning the thing while the host is asking the questions. Every year, without fail, more than one time, there would be a child who was so excited to see Santa Claus that they could barely contain themselves. They were vibrating. They were almost not in focus. They were just so wound. They were beyond stoked. Sugar has nothing on whatever that excitement was. That anticipation, I have no idea how many months they were winding that kid up, but that kid was just, and couldn't make a coherent sentence at gunpoint, because just, I'm going to see Santa, and sometimes the kid would maybe be 2, so it's you know, Santa, and sometimes it's a kid of 12 who, you know, is a little embarrassed that he's too old for this kind of thing, but nevertheless he's still just absolutely wired, because, or any age in between, right? There were even a couple of adults who were kind of, and part of the reason they were that excited was because our events were never shopping mall Santa. It was never a situation where you had to wait in line until you wished you were dead in order to get and sit on the guy's knee. We were in the community. We rode around in horse-drawn wagons, or we walked up and down the streets and said hello to people. We popped our heads in store doors and said, have you been good? And people would, what? Oh, and somebody said, oh my God. And I said, well, who did you think it was going to be? December. And they would all laugh. We were part of their normal world. We insinuated ourselves into their normal lives. And so the kids were told this at any minute, it could be in any store. We're gonna see Santa. Are you excited? The kid, tons of them. And then, this is the story. And I can tell it any which way you like. It's a boy or it's a girl. It's a little one, it's a big one. It doesn't matter. And then they see Santa. They see him. And we're walking toward him. So we're not sprinting, right? We're walking. We're dignified. And this child's face does this. So let's say it's 5 steps that we're away, right? The child's face does this. And they go from 1,000% joy to 1,000% terror in 3, 2, 1. They don't make any noise, but their face, it's like this time-lapse photography thing. All the positive, all the negative, all here all the time. And there was one situation in which the kids were dressed, a boy and a girl dressed adorably. He had on a little suit with short pants and a bow tie and everything, and he was his hair slicked back and just thing. The little girl was in a pinafore, and she had this in her hair, and she had bows and everything. She was fine. You know, she was, hey, I got my hair done. Have you seen my shoes? She was into it. The little boy, when they came in, and they were very busy taking off the winter jacket and everything, put the winter jacket down. And the mother's, you know, lick her hand to smooth down his hair. And the little boy says, ready? And he turned around and he froze And his mother reached for his hand, and he yoinked it out, and he ran and hid under a table. And we couldn't get him out. His mother was yoinking on him, and he was clutching the leg. And I said, you know, don't pull. You're going to create a problem here. She said, I've told my mother we're going to have pictures. And I said, well, you know, yeah. And I tell people I'm going to be a size 6. And, you know, you can't have... And the little boy, because the harder she pulled, the more traumatized he was. He didn't know, couldn't compute, he had no tools, and I was really worried because I had never seen that extreme a reaction. And eventually, the mother stopped. The little girl got her picture taken. The little boy let go of the leg. And I went over to him and I said, Santa is going to see you next year. And he said, oh, okay. And then he was fine. He never looked at him, never looked at Santa again. Mommy helped him on with his clothes. And I said, we'll see you next year. And he said, uh-huh. And we gave him a candy cane, gave the little girl a candy cane, gave Mom a candy cane, said, sorry, there's not, you know, something in it. And she just thank you, and left. We have endless funny pictures on social media of terrified, screaming children sitting on Santa's lap. We have, and it's funny as hell, except not for the child, clearly not in the moment. And we don't see what that is, really. And the stories later, oh my God, the child this and the child that, and then all of a sudden the child wasn't. That's 30,000 feet. And a hard landing. That's a hard landing, and the person wasn't ready for it. When they landed, boom, their knees buckled and they fell down and they can't get up. That's what that is. So where I'm taking this, and I know I'm going long because, of course, this is now my new thing, is going long. Where I'm taking this in this 50th video is this. Human beings have this unique ability to look at a situation, filter it through our 5 different layers, dimensions, senses, tap into our memory banks for a remembered response that's similar, that we can use, and then reach further and find the version of us most capable of responding well. That's our gift. That's what we do. There is another layer to it. And the other layer is that we're willing to do it. I was brushing that off before. But I was gifted with this opportunity to see this young man and to see these girls and to talk to Freddie and Chris and remember my Santa Claus moments and remember my 30,000-foot view friends and realize that really the cherry on the icing on the cake of how extraordinary the human is that we're willing to engage. Even when it's scary, we're willing to step beyond the dream and step into reality. And we know that's what's being asked of us because we are sentient beings. And part of this whole analysis, sift, sort, select, profile, choose, prioritize, how do I feel about this physically, mentally, emotionally, all that, all those layers of things that we do unconsciously. The last unconscious step we make is saying, next time. Or, yeah, I'm in. 100%. Let's do this. One is not better, stronger than the other. You're not a failure if you choose to abort and come around and do it again. Pilots do it all the time. Thank you. There was supposed to be a landing space and there isn't one. I think I'll go around and see if I can find one. Good call. It is not a failure to reset. It is not a failure to recalibrate. It is not a failure to say, ooh, I didn't realize that's what was on offer. Thank you, but no. That happened to me 2 weeks ago. I was offered an opportunity. I initially said yes. Then I discovered what the opportunity was, and I said, On second thought, thank you, but no. We have that power, we have that right, and because we have these incredible brains, because we have this extraordinary ability to turn pivoting into an art form, turn it into pivotry, we have the ability to live our best lives. All we need to do after that is decide when we're ready to do that. And if we're not ready to do it, we can come round again. We have that. How this ties in with my 50th video and my decision at the beginning that I would only begin something that I felt I could keep going with is because we have all in the last 2.5 years had to abort so many tries, so many times. Companies, plans, travel, celebrations, jobs, lives have been put on hold, have been put in reset mode over and over and over through no fault of anyone's, just because the timing was not propitious. And we have felt disappointed and ignored and unheard and frustrated and angry and lost and scared. So I made the decision that of all the times I have, and all the times that I will abort, for all the reasons, it won't be this time. I'm having a mom moment. I don't want people hurt more than they have been. I don't want any of us feeling that our inner child has been left alone. And the reason I have the tears is not because I'm sad, and I'm sorry. The reason I have the tears is because I'm so happy that I have the ability to do the thing, to want to make it happen, that I have the skills, not the tech skills so much, but I have the skills, I have the will and the want, and the Viking stubbornness to not let you down. So there's still something that you can count on. In the same way that I can count on you. You're here. And you've been here every time, no matter how busy. Whether you were here live for the actual video, or you found time later to watch and see what crazy fool thing I'm talking about this time, you've made the commitment to me. It's like my birthday every time. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if I posted that little ram with the birthday hat no, see, it would be off. So, I'm sorry I got all weepy, but it was pretty overwhelming to see what I saw, to live what I lived, to talk to my friends and hear what I heard and realize that this is something I saw and witnessed is part of everything I'm discovering about pivotry in motion. That we are extraordinary creatures. That we are infinite possibility walking. We are the magic. We don't have to believe anyone who says, you'll be better if you straighten your nose. You'll be better if you lose 7 pounds by Friday. You'll be better if you take this new course, if you try harder, if you fit in, if you this, if. No. The question, do you ever ask yourself, what if? Only every other minute. The what if is not, how can I be better? The what if is, what if the magic is just right there waiting? What if? And the answer is, it is. It is, because you're showing it to me every day. Is that amazing? So, next Tuesday it's going to be my 51st video. Oh, coming round the turn. And I have some very cool things to talk about next week. Different and interesting. And I think you're going to be very pleased. So I want to thank you so much for watching this one. This one was complicated. And it's the universe that brought all the complications, and the universe that also brought all the little, you know, knock-knock opportunities to figure it out. So I've shared it because it opened my eyes to a lot of things I didn't even realize. And I'm figuring if it opened my eyes, probably yours had a little bit of a blink too. And I'm glad if it did. So please tell your friends about this. Please tell your friends that we're on a kind of a mission here. We're going to be doing amazing things. Because we already are. And it's going to get better and better and better. The opportunity that I had in talking with Chris and Freddie has made me realize how exciting it's going to be with our Pivotry books, with your stories, with our conversations, and what happens when they're on the page and we take them off the page to discuss together. I think that's going to be, it's just going to be amazing. All right, so between now and then, I want you to have a great weekend. Be good to you. You're worth it. And don't forget to hug your loved ones. And I'll see you next time.